All right, here we go. Please subscribe to the channel. Please.
Hey guys, YouTube's got an algorithm and it really help us out a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe. This is how we can get more information out to more people and share the message of Toronto real estate.
In
Thanks.
that order, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the damn bell. Hopefully, we're level.
I was about to say, is the sound check good?
Yeah, it looks like it's okay. I didn't really do one. I just kind of started talking.
Yeah.
So I could
So
interrupt it right now and check, or we could
yeah,
go for broke and see what happens.
go for broke. I think you and I are risk takers.
You want to go for broke? Because one of us
Yeah,
could be whispering right now.
you want to invest in Bitcoin and I'll put a loan on your car.
I would love
Look,
to buy some Dogecoin. But you could put a loan on my card because I just sold it yesterday. It's gone.
yeah,
She gone, baby. Finally.
yeah.
That thing was just sitting there. It was pretty
Borrow,
sad.
borrow, borrow money against everything you own to be able to get into Dogecoin. That's a good idea.
Well, I mean, I think you could get into Dogecoin with like a quarter.
But you got to go big. You can't just buy one. You got to buy like, you know, 10,000.
Come on, where's the harm in spending $1,000 right now of CERB money on Dogecoin?
Yeah.
Everybody's
So
doing it.
I remember the stories from the Great Depression where they would say like, I'm getting my shoes shined, and the guy shining my shoes is giving me a new stock tip. And that was the sign that everyone said was when the market started to turn,
Sure.
is when everybody just all of a sudden had this great advice. So one, all the YouTube ads right now are like 21-year-old guys telling me how great of a secret that they've got to
Sure.
make money in the stock
I
market.
just made $18 million last month.
And then the other guy, so again, no like judgment here or whatever, but I'm going to the condo to install a lockbox, and the security guard is like, oh, have you heard about such and such? And I'm like, what the heck is that? He goes, oh, it's an altcoin, and it's like
To the
and I'm like,
moon, baby. To the
I've never heard
moon.
of that. I'm like, are you in? Did you get in? He's like, no, not yet, but I'm trying. And I'm just like, oh man, this world, we're in trouble.
It's changing.
We're
It's
we're in
changing.
trouble, right? Yeah. If
It's
they're listening,
changing.
maybe I've said that before in the show. I don't know,
We've
but that's
said it
still my
many
opinion.
times where maniacs like us have people
Yeah,
listening every single week.
yeah.
TK,
So it just,
we could
yeah.
sell out right now with our current fan base. We could sell out a really small coffee shop in seconds.
But it has to be takeout only, right? There can't be any like seats or anything inside.
What if we stood in front of a tree and we drew circles all around the tree and we gave away the location by GPS to
Huh.
10 people? Do you think that they would all come?
I wouldn't even show up.
No, I'd be afraid.
I I'd pick the tree from like Google Maps or something like
I'd
that. So
be
I wouldn't even
afraid
show
to
up.
meet me in person.
All right, Daryl, let's get back on track. This is the Toronto Real Estate Show. What is
It
going
is.
on,
And look,
Daryl, in the Toronto real estate market right now?
we have full autonomy together again this week.
I like it.
Unfortunately and fortunately. Oh,
Great
we
show
go.
last week though. Nice guy, the model
Yeah,
guy,
oh my
and
god. I
really talented.
can I tell you? That was like for me, that was
Oh,
very fun. And he gave me the model to play around with. It's been it's been quite a joy. Quite a joy.
yeah.
He's a nice guy. I talked to him after a couple of times. Really cool stuff going on there. Okay, so what is there? Okay, a lot of you want to talk about this? Toronto real estate experts call for an end to blind bidding and deception. This has come up a few times this week. Does that interest you at all, Mr. TK? I think it should.
We've already talked about this, right? So yeah, I'm
I,
all for
I,
it.
I think it's a big problem. Like, it's a
It's just
big
not going to
problem.
change. It's just not going to change. So,
This
you
article's
know,
talking about people that, in particular, are kind of new to having their real estate license and don't know what they're doing and are giving horrible guidance and bidding up prices by hundreds of thousands, not like tens of thousands.
well, let's talk about another pet peeve of mine. How about that?
Yes.
All right. So multiple offer process. All right. Last night I got a text at 11:30 at night. I was like asleep for hours at that point, And I'm an early, like I go to bed early and wake up at a reasonable time, almost like 7 days a week, right? So I have no social life, like most people right now. So every single offer presentation that I have done for me, and I'm talking, I don't know, 30 or something like that I've done in the last few months.
On behalf of a
I have
buyer,
had
you mean?
no, from my sellers. I have had
Oh.
everything wrapped up by like 7:30 at night.
Wait,
You know,
presenting all of the offers in a
presenting
multiple offer scenario?
3 weeks ago, 32 offers, 7:30 at night. I'm done, and we have an answer, and the sold side's on. Like,
7:30? When did all the offers come in?
well, I have different timelines and stuff like that, but they're coming in during the day and afternoon and all that kind of stuff. And but I'm like, I'm a family guy, and I'm assuming that everybody else has a life, and I'm assuming that they don't want to be up until midnight. That's a horrible time to be up. If I have to, because there's a situation, like, yeah, it's always best to work on the deal the night before and not let people sleep on it. I get it. But it's really easy to coordinate when you have a whole week of showings and people know that there's going to be an offer date. All you got to do is coordinate it in a way so that you've got offers being taken care of by a certain time. And I just feel like agents are inexperienced, and so that they're not making sure that everything is organized. And when you tell someone to register an offer at 5 and then present at 7, and it takes that until 11:30 at night, and there was only 2 offers, something tells me you're just not quite as organized as you should be, right? And I've seen that over and over again. Another one was 5 offers, and the guy texted me at like midnight. Again, I'm fast asleep at this point. Like I make my offers only good to a certain time, because at the end of the day, I don't want them to have more time to put the offer out there to people and shop it around. So we have an earlier time, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, something like that. And these agents are getting back forever, and I'm just wondering to myself, like, what's going on in their head?
There is a wide, wide, wide gap between real estate agents and decent real estate agents.
And people with a
and
real estate
then
license.
right. And then there's an even bigger gap between a decent real estate agent and a good real estate agent. And then there is an insurmountable gap that fits TK and few others
Well, there's
that
lots of
are
others.
wonderful, amazing. No, there's not that many.
Well, it's just because there's 60,000 agents, you're going to run into a lot of the ones that aren't. But there's plenty. I know I've dealt with a ton of people who are great at what they do.
So tell me, what's the value of these houses that you're talking about? Just these last few examples.
1,000,000, 750. Like when I'm representing the buyer, right? So I'm waiting till like late at night.
Well, whatever. But like, what's the
In
value
those
of just
ranges.
these few? $1 million, $1 million
Yeah,
two?
so 750 to $1,000,000. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's argument with this open bidding process is that we can't release other people's information because that would be bad, right? It would be bad to know what the other person is bidding and like who they are and what their bid is, because that is like an invasion of privacy, right? But somehow I can go on eBay. I could probably bid $1 million on something and a whole bunch of stuff, right? No problem, right? No problem at all. Or I could go buy an NFT of Beeple's art for $69.3 million online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I could go to an auction house, I guess pre-COVID, and I could buy, some crazy Italian artist's art for $3.8 million by raising a paddle. Why can't I buy a house for $1.2 million in a open bidding process in Toronto?
So you reminded me of another story this week. So I had a property that I sold in North York, and it was multiple offers on Wednesday. And that when the agent called me, and it's a very one demographic type of neighborhood, and one of the agents called me and said, "Is the other buyer I'm competing with from my demographic or this other demographic?" Right?
Okay.
Because that was an important question to him to
Who
know
asked
who he
this?
was competing against. The
Oh.
buyer's agent. He's like,
Oh.
who's the buyer? So
who's paying for this?
And I think what was computing in his head was, if it's a similar demographic to mine, they may be willing to pay more
Sure.
than this other demographic who could pay less. And that's like an advantage to know that, right? Or not know that, or whether that's even real or not, who knows? But that's the whole premise behind
That
people who
is
want to
what's
keep
relevant.
the blind bidding a secret, and everybody's no, you can't know, because then they're going to know, and then they're going to find out, and the only thing we should disclose is which brokerage they're from, and if that, and if they're from the same brokerage of the listing brokerage, right? That's it.
Yeah.
But then you have brokerages, so
But
just
that's
so
so
you know, then
stupid.
you have brokerages in Toronto that are all strictly one demographic. It's like 400 agents all from one culture, right? Like there's multiple ones like that. So then it's like, if you say it, if you're like Remax 123 Realty, everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, that's the
Oh,
Irish brokerage.
great.
And
Yeah,
the
no,
Irish
I'm
guys are
never
gonna be
getting
bidding
this
on this
house.
one.
Yeah, they're all drunk, fucking Irish brokers.
Hey, settle down.
Sorry. All of them are drunk.
So you know
I
what? I
should
don't
have
know.
I should have evened that out a bit. All of the brokers are drunk right now. They're all drunk on wealth and power in like this crazy market. Seriously,
boy.
think about it. What did the average price go up in the last 2 years?
15% or 2 years. Yeah. I don't know. 20+%.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like, the realtor's commission must have gone up similarly. They didn't do anything different.
Yeah, I would say it would average probably just under that, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the market went up more than 20%. But anyways, I mean, the bidding process, not being blind, will definitely 100% lower the price escalation issue. Because prices going up are not an issue. It's the rapid increase and pace that they are going up currently that is what's scaring everybody. We want them to go up regularly at a reasonable rate, right?
yep, got to beat inflation. The hedge against inflation, real estate. That's what it is.
Ideally,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think ideally it doesn't go down and it just steadily goes up, right?
Yeah. Instead of me keeping my money underneath the mattress, I should put it into real estate.
So
It's the-
so it seems to me from a lot of these articles that we've been like are we are we socialist? What are we right now? Like what kind of a country is Canada right now? Because we're getting
Well,
we're getting
I
free
think that
money.
the
We're-
naysayers are out there screaming socialism right now from
No,
the
but we're
government,
all
right?
begging like, "Oh my God, the market's so hot. You got to do something. Oh my God, there's a virus. The market's gonna die. You got to do something."
Yeah.
You got to do something. You got to do everything.
Reality is that we're capitalists. Reality, it's those who choose to be
We
on
are
top are the ones who end up being there. Those who choose to have other um, people and assets working for them are the ones who end up succeeding and building wealth. That's just the reality.
So how do you now, when you are 23,
Okay.
how do you
23 years old.
yeah, how do you build that wealth? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not the same as when I was a first-time home buyer. Like the spread between wages and the value of housing. I mean, but also hold on a sec. So I was reading an article. I think I have it here. This is a good segue if I can actually pull it off. Here, nearly half of all first-time homebuyers eyeing the suburbs. And the reason I'm bringing this up and it ties into when I was first buying a house is that, like, I mean, even my parents bought in the suburbs. I bought in the suburbs. I didn't even think about going to 416 when I was buying a house. I mean, why is this different?
I would change that stat though. Like I would change. I'd want to know this number. What's the percentage of single first-time home buyers going to the suburbs? Because I bet you it's a lot lower.
Single first time, right? And there's
These
probably a
first-time buyers
lot
are gonna be
more of
couples,
them.
right?
Well, and then this also, baby boomers are bailing out Toronto's condo market with huge gifts for their kids. But again, like, is that new? Are these new trends worth news, TK? Are people going to the suburbs a new idea?
I don't think that it's necessarily like First of all, everyone's on the real estate train right now. Everyone's like invest in real estate. I was talking to my dad, who's real estate broker extraordinaire, and he's like dealing with people who are buying houses cash for their kids and giving them the mortgage. So they're
While
saying
selling their house as well and buying something else
no, they got the
cash,
money
or
to do it,
just
but
boom.
they're saying my kids are in trouble and they're not going to be able to get a house. So, and the mortgage that they're going to get is not going to they're not going to qualify. So I'm going to just buy the house cash, and then they'll owe me money, right? And register a mortgage officially or not
And
on
I'll do
title.
it now before it's worth 25% more next year.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who are just thinking to themselves, hey, real estate's going up. I'm super confident. If you got the money, you're going to do it. If you don't have the money, then yeah, maybe you have to sell. Maybe you have to refinance. Whatever you're going to do, you love your children and you want to make sure that they've got the opportunities that you've had. And there's so many people that I deal with who are just like a guy I'm dealing with, a guy I met last week, right? Super nice guy, old guy on this amazing lot, ravine, double lot. You can build about 2.5 to $3 million homes on the lot afterwards. It's amazing, right? And just hearing him talk about like where he is with his life and stuff like that, like he's really not money hungry. He's really not greedy. He's really not thinking about like how he can cash in on this real estate market. He just wants to live like a happy life. Like he's perfectly content with what he's in. He's not in a fancy house right now. It's just a great lot. He's planning on moving somewhere else that doesn't seem that glamorous. It's just simply about him enjoying his life. And I think that mentality when you get older is a lot more common than the younger folk, right? Where we're all like, no, we got to go and we got to have the fancy stuff and we got to have flashy this. And I know a lot of new Canadians are the same way because they come here and they come from different backgrounds. So then they feel like they've got to have this, elevated status. But the people who have been born and raised here, who are now in their 60s or 70s, are really simple. Like a lot of them, they're
I,
just kind of like relaxed.
and I think a lot of people are getting simpler and starting to really question kind of some ideas from yesterday. Like me, for example. I mean, God, to sell my second car and to only have one car in the family, it's like it's so counter everything that I kind of, feel and grew up and like, no, you're supposed to have a car per person, per adult, right? But it's like
15 years old, you got to get a car.
this
Yeah.
thing's been sitting in the garage for like 8 months. I think I might have put on like 800 kilometers during the pandemic. Like, why have it? It doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense, right?
Yep.
But it's like, I think the younger generation also, like my daughter, she would be like more than happy living in like a little van or one of these tiny houses. She just wants some freedom, a little piece of something, not. I think they're getting realistic, the generation that like, I'm not getting a 2-story house somewhere right away. Like, I mean, when I got married, I bought a 2-story house somewhere in a nice area, right?
Right
like
away.
right away.
Yeah.
And it didn't like destroy me. In hindsight, I should have bought something bigger back then. It was really stupid. And, I was scared. I was like
I
23
got a
or
bungalow with a
something.
basement apartment.
Right. But like, you could do it now. Okay. So we've got boomers buying, who's they're buying their kids. No, they're not.
Yeah, let's finish up on this topic. So what I'm saying is that people are willing to sacrifice what they've got, whether it be money in the bank or investments to provide for their
Sure. I
children.
mean, they
And if
didn't
you
do
don't have the
fuck
money
all
and you have
for
to
it.
sell, you're more than willing to sell your home for your kids to all get their inheritance early, and you will go and rent.
Some
Or because
people
in your
are
mind
cool
you're going
with
to be
that.
happy and you're going to feel good, and you don't, there's a much different mentality in
Yeah,
the baby
and you
boomer
know what?
generation.
It almost should be like that right now. I mean, they really look. I mean, they were just born at a time where their house that they bought went friggin' bananas while they owned it. Now
Yeah.
the next generation is like, I mean, they'll probably still go bananas, but how the hell are you gonna own something right now? Or are you gonna own a little condo? Like, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And stability is more important than the wealth aspect of it.
my
It's
daughter,
about their kids getting a home that they can live in and not have to move for 40 years like they did.
yeah, or not live, with us for that much longer. Like my daughter's
That too.
18, right? Somebody soon is gonna have to start thinking about, either me or her, where she's gonna live at some point next, right? And I don't need her to leave. I mean, she can live here for a certain amount of time, not forever, but like a reasonable amount of time, right? And
Yeah.
so like imagine, okay, right now, if I were to buy something for my daughter, I mean, something decent, it's at least $500,000, right?
Mhm.
At least. And that's not even so
Yeah.
decent, but she would
Yeah.
be more than happy with it right now.
Small condo.
But
Yeah.
what about when your kids, when you have to buy something for them? Like,
I've already found a solution.
you got to do it now.
Yeah. I found a solution. I was looking at it last night.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
wanna
should
hear
do
about
it. Yeah, yeah, please tell me. What is the solution for
Sheds.
you?
Sheds.
Sheds.
Yeah. You build them a shed in the backyard as a garden suite, and you just stack little bunk beds on top of each other. You know what I mean?
I
Stick
would,
them both back there.
you know what? Right now,
Yeah.
there's a serious world shortage in containers. If you
Yeah.
did it in a container, those things would go up in value like crazy right now.
That's actually not a bad idea. But I am looking at like, do I need to move, right? I'm like, do I really need to move? Like I live in a house that's like good square footage, tons of space. We're really comfortable. Everything's fixed up. I don't have to do anything. And so I'm like, well, how would I get more space as my son gets older? I'm like, okay, well, he's into YouTubing and podcasting. I'm into podcasting. We're, online schooling and all this different things. And oh boy, he's got something.
It's time to move. It's time to
So
move.
I thought to myself, okay, what do? I build a office pod in the backyard and make a studio in the backyard. So if I need to work and I need quiet space, even though my office is a 5-minute drive from my house, it's not like I want to go there all the time. So I have my own office pod. He's got his own YouTube pod for his channel and his dreams. And if he's got to do schooling and stuff like that, and we'd have our own little man cave, she shed.
I saw this cool thing. I don't know how I got it. It was in my inbox somehow. It's called Rooms. I should pull it up on the screen, but that seems like I'll screw something up if I do that.
I looked at it last night. I dived into the the man shed business right now, prefab and all that stuff, and there's like a ton of companies doing it.
Companies, but this thing, Rooms, they build like these they're literally like they're pre-built rooms for doing work or a podcast or whatever. It's got like a desk and shelves and like it's almost like sitting in a diner, like 2 benches with a table in the middle, like different configurations for like 15 to 20 grand. You can just plop it anywhere and they're soundproof.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
No, these ones are all smart wire. Like they've really, trust me, everyone's been innovative with that space. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
8 by 10, no building permit, drop it anywhere you want.
Can't you just plop one on top of your house?
I'm like, maybe I should probably get one that needs a building permit because I should start like building a whole entire network of, right? But chances are I would just do a shed size one. I don't really need more than that. Just put a desk in there, insulated. Then I was looking at how to build it myself. I'm like, you know what?
That seems like time poorly spent.
Yeah.
In a really hot real estate market, being a realtor and all. But well, I mean, you could build the shed and just kind of draw out those bidding wars till like 11:30 midnight, and you'd gain all kinds of time to build a shed.
I'd collect the offers at 7, and then I'll give everyone an answer 5 hours later when I finally do something about it.
Once you finish the shed.
I'm screwing in some 2x4s here.
Can't you
also, the price of lumber is just way too much right now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I wouldn't be doing it right now. I would be waiting for those prices to come down, which they have to come down, by the way. The price of lumber is not going to stay where it is. Not a chance.
So what is behind the lumber price increase? What is it?
I haven't really studied it yet. I think it's just the
well, what else brings up prices?
The fact that the lumber, well, obviously there's more costs because these lumber factories have to have less people, near each other and stuff like that to be able to build. And once the prices start to rise, they realize that people are still buying it, so they keep prices up. So until prices in real estate change, where there's less construction going on because people are less confident in real estate, the lumber prices will stay high. That's the truth. Because whether or not the costs for the suppliers go down or not, as long as they can continue to get that money, they will.
Absolutely.
But once the real estate market changes, and it always does, it's cyclical, they will then say, all right, well, we better start undercutting each other and making sure that we sell more lumber, because where are we going to put all this wood?
That's right. But right now,
people start building those sheds now, because
right now supply is constrained for whatever reason. Maybe, well,
real or not.
I think selling most of it to the United States may be a factor. Or to China. I'm pretty sure we sell a lot to China and to other countries. I know they have a lot of their own. Well, sure. But I mean, if you would stop doing that, and kind of spread it out here in Canada, then the prices could come down. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
there's
don't
still
think
profits to be made. But
I
who's
don't
going to
believe
do
so.
that? Yeah, who's going to do that?
I think you got to
I'm
trade.
not going to
You
do
got to
that if I'm the lumber
you got
guy.
to trade between other countries. There's other things that we get because we need things that we don't have here
Oops.
that we're getting in exchange importing from other countries. So if we can't just be like, hey, look, we need some wood and we need oil, so we're just going to spread it out around our people first, but all those other things that you guys need, keep sending them to us, right? So you have to have trade between countries, and you can't just hoard all your resources. What's going on?
I think you
What's up
can.
next?
I think you can. Well, okay, so there's a couple
Oh,
of things here. I thought this was kind of interesting since we're kind of talking about boomers and aging.
yeah.
Did that work? Yeah. Boomers opting to age in place with combination suites. Now, I don't
Hey.
know if you've seen this at all, but this is
Uh-uh.
this is a great concept, and I really think that there's a good business model behind this thing. If anybody wants to message me about
Explain
that
it. Yeah, I don't
later
know. I
and
didn't read this
be a
one.
partner, I'm all for it. So, okay, boomers opting to age in place. So basically what they're doing, they're buying like new condos, and they're buying 2 or 3 side by side in these new developments, planning to rent it out now, but move into it later, and combine 2 of the suites, let's say, into a nice big suite, and putting a
Okay.
caregiver or a team of caregivers in the suite next door, and kind of
Oh.
creating your own retirement
Okay.
home.
Well, they've been like that's been happening for a long time, combining suites and all that kind of stuff. But
I think
the
all
boomer
of that kind
aspect,
of coming together, like the
yeah,
aging and having, staff next door 24/7 living in a unit beside you, but even more importantly, paying today's prices for what you need 10, 15 years down the road in an
yeah,
area that you would want to live in, while bringing in money the entire time. And I mean, depending on how much money you put down, it could cash flow, it could
yeah.
lose money every month, it could, gain appreciation by then. But it sounds to me like a pretty sound play if you can afford to do it.
If they sell their home, they'll be able to pay for those condos, no mortgage.
But what a great business to buy, like little blocks of 3 or 6 in new buildings in the effort to find somebody that is willing and able to do that once the building is
Mm-hmm.
built, right? And lease them that space and maybe have it like have equipment in it for that kind of scenario, and maybe even, have the staff in place to live in the space. That's a whole business right there. Just turn entire floors into retirement homes or condos. Can you do
Yeah.
that?
Well, I think we're gonna have to do that. I don't think that
The
that's
current
something that
model, like,
is.
can't keep going. This is
Yeah.
horrendous.
So and unless everybody's gonna just decide to live in their big homes and have the staff move in with them, which is again unlikely because there's all that equity trapped in that home. So by
You
the time
need
you're ready to
that.
go, let's say you're 70, you're not ready to go until you're 80. Well, at 80, that $2 million home is probably going to be worth close to $3 million. So now you got $3 million of your money sitting in your home, and you need to figure out how to make it work for you. And if you got stairs and landscaping and all that kind of stuff, you're probably going to say, like, what am I doing, right? Like, why don't I just simplify this? Going
Yeah.
to buy a bungalow around the corner is probably going to be 2.3 million, so it's not going to be any cheaper,
Well, you
or maybe
only
even more,
eliminate a couple of boxes there, like, right? What are you
right?
eliminating? The stairs and more space, but you still got the yard and all the other shit to
Yeah.
deal with, right?
Yeah, so you got to go to a condo. Like the condo, I'm super bullish on the condo market. Like it's so crazy how I'm even saying that, because years ago I'd always say, but they're boxes in the sky and they're this and that, and I can't believe it. But they're the only affordable option for young people, and they're going to be the only option that older people are going to have to be able to live in and still stay in the areas that they're familiar with. Not everybody wants to leave the city that they grew up in.
Well,
Not everyone
and
wants to
take
go to
money off the
London or
table, right?
whatever.
And
Yeah.
sell their
Well,
their
they
house.
can't take money off the table unless they go to a condo. There is no cheaper option. There's not a detached bungalow in your neighborhood that's going to free up that much equity. By the time you pay real estate fees, land transfer tax, everything, you're almost awash.
Yeah.
My neighbors, have talked to me about this before. And I said, where are you going to go? I go, if you guys buy a smaller house in this neighborhood, you will be in the exact same financial situation you're in right now, but you'll just be in a smaller house
Yeah.
because it's only 200 grand less,
See,
right?
I think I'm a little far away to be worrying about my retirement, but if I was closer to that point, I'd like definitely be thinking about investing in my future home now, right? I mean, it won't be built for 5 to 7 years, depending on where it is.
So the pre-construction model, yeah. I mean, again, I'm not pre-construction, based. I think that it's a market that I wouldn't be involved with right now, but I think for a baby boomer, it would make sense. I think that there's opportunities there for you to get in and not have something built for 4 or 5 years, right? And you don't
I
have to
think
lock
so.
lock
While
in
you're
anything more than a line of credit on your house or some savings.
right, while
Yeah,
your house is still appreciating for that time and giving you
yeah,
that little bump before actually retiring.
yeah. You're twisting my arm today, Daryl.
Tell
You're
me,
you're
tell
you're
me.
getting me off. You're getting me off my opinions. You know,
Your
I'm
opinions are
I'm
good. I
I'm
like them.
no, but I'm usually like anti pre-construction and all that kind of stuff. So, but today you've built a wonderful argument as to why there is a huge market for pre-construction, and that
And
is the
it's
baby boomers.
it's not only the baby boomers.
Yeah,
Here's the reality. Okay, so
or for their kids.
or for their kids or
Right
for
now, kids 17 got a pre-construction, so they got a condo ready for them.
but what like where are the if you want to buy apartments, like there's not that many available for sale, right? So if you want to invest, and I'm not talking about the guy who wants to buy one condo in a building and become an investor, like real estate investors, right? Like where's all that money going? There's not there's not buildings with 100 units available anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 250 units. Like these old buildings are generational. Some of them come on the market from time to time, but like most of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
And now a lot of them are recognizing that, oh my God, I've got this gigantic piece of land. This thing's been paid for 2 generations already. And, everybody else around us is starting to put new buildings on their properties in the empty space. I could create another 300-400 units and not pay for land. So like, where is all this real estate investor money going? It has to go into new condos, right? They have to be landlords through new condos. It's the only way to do it right now, right? I think. I mean, am I missing something? And we need all this
No,
stuff.
no,
So
you're
like,
right. We've talked about this, the rental
so
supply.
so investors, locals, and immigrants who are going to start flooding into the place, and students, right? Like, how much more argument do we need for pre-construction right now as being like super important on top of loosening restrictions? Did you see? Did you?
Tell me.
Did you? And
Spit it out, Daryl. Spit it out.
and I can't even believe that. Like, I don't see very many people talking about this, but like, this is crazy. So in the middle of a housing crisis, TK. Do they know what they're doing at all? Okay, where is this thing? Toronto bans tall buildings downtown.
Jeez.
Toronto bans tall buildings in downtown neighborhood, and
Neighborhood.
people just know TK.
I saw this one. Yeah.
Not neighborhood. Look at this. It's the whole West Downlands. It's the distillery district. It's all of Corktown and East. What do they call this? Oops. Bear with me. East Downtown or something? Old Town, which is, look at this. And Queen Street. All of this, they just changed all of the height guidelines or all kinds of, like, you can't, some of these areas you can't, this is downtown. This is downtown core Toronto. Like,
I know.
Where's the Don Valley? It's over here somewhere.
Yeah.
Some of these places you can only do 10 stories now, according to the new planning that somehow just got passed through in a crisis, in a housing
just
crisis.
Clarify what tall buildings is for people who don't know.
Tall buildings technically is anything over 11 stories, but I think now in planning it's more over 15 stories. But for argument's sake, technically,
you can still be getting mid-rise buildings that are in that range to be able to.
In downtown Toronto, a mid-rise, this is asinine. It should have gone the other way. It should have gone the exact opposite other way. Oh my God. This underutilized area of the downtown core of Toronto, which in the official plan is mixed use and re-gentrification. Like, it's like this big section there that they've like earmarked for more density. All of a sudden, it just turned into like height restrictions. Some places you can do 30 stories, but like even still, this is downtown east. This is the next frontier downtown. This is where
Yeah.
the goods are,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's been building on the west side and the entertainment district, and right now
Yep.
all of a sudden they've started coming east, and then they boom, height
They have
restrictions.
tall buildings there already.
Tons of them, and lots
Yeah.
being
So
built and already in for proposal. But this is gonna be like just more red tape, because the people that bought land in that area that haven't put in their application, like, they're gonna fight this like crazy. No,
yeah, just more red tape,
just
more waste of
more
resources.
negotiation and red tape and baloney. You should see, like, for the property that I'm working on, I have to get an archaeology report. There's no archaeology here. And then the guy
I
sends
think
me,
there's dinosaurs, on Kingston Road.
he sends me this thing like, do you want me to represent you with the First Nations because they have interest in the development of this property? And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? First Nations? I need a representative with the First Nations? Are you
Yep.
kidding me? Like,
Well-
how much red tape? I had to pay for a used car package to sell my car. Like, there's so much red tape that's unnecessary. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's
It's unbelievable.
unbelievable.
You can't believe it. It's
I'm
not something that can be believed.
I'm in awe. And then in the middle of a pandemic that's in wave number 3, variant number 18, coming from Venezuela,
Oh, is it now?
where we realize, oh, right, I forgot we have a shortage here of housing. Like, we're in crisis mode, and oh my God, we got to do something. I know what we'll do. Let's limit the density in the place that should be the most dense. That sounds good. That's a good idea. What are you looking for? Are you
trying to find
uninterested in this topic? Are you trying to shift topics here on me? What do you want to
No, I
talk
wanted
about,
to look
TK?
at something quickly.
Don't move that mic further away, buddy. Get it closer.
Oh,
You're
yeah, sorry.
whispering. What do you want to talk about,
I want-
TK?
I
How
wa-
am I
I wanted
boring you
to-
here? Sorry.
I wanted to look at
Please.
something else.
Yes.
But,
What would you like to look at, sir? I could.
can't get it.
You know what I
It's
mean?
not working. My system's not working.
Do you want to share your screen? Is that what you're trying to do?
I can't. No, I can't. No, it's gone.
I can let you. Do you
You
want to?
read me like a book, eh?
Well, I can see your brain is like spinning and your screen is flashing like crazy. Okay, here. You pick the next topic, TK. I'm sorry. I'm
well,
sorry.
let's go on to the. You know what? I think that's shameful, but I also don't know if that's even going to be something that ends up going through or not too. I want to talk about
It says
inflation.
it
I want to talk
passed.
about what's going on
Let's do
right
that.
now
Let's
with
do that. Oh, what about this?
rate announcements, Bank of Canada. What?
Yeah, you want to talk about that? Okay, fine. Let's talk about that. But we should definitely touch on Canadian banks begin circumventing mortgage stress tests for high-income clients. That is interesting, I
Mhm.
think. But I could be wrong. But yeah, let's talk about rates. What happened with rates? Nothing. Did anything happen with
Well,
rates?
no, something huge happened with rates.
Tell me. What happened with
Massive,
rates?
massive. So when OSFI had announced that they were going to be increasing the stress test on by May 7th, and that it would come into effect June 1st, they said that we were going to be, they said that they were going to be
OSFI.
consulting with the people that they need to consult with, right? So when Bank of Canada does their most recent rate announcement, and they basically came out and said they support the decision
OSFI.
for the stress test to be increased, it's as good as done. So that means that the stress test will be increased from 4.79 to 5.25 starting June 1st, taking 5% of people's borrowing power off the table.
Boom. Let's go buy some
Conventional
houses.
mortgages only.
Let's go
Conventional-
buy some houses.
Conventional
Now.
mortgages only. Now, the other part, which was going on in the background, is that for the last few months, everyone's like trying to figure out like how to cool the housing market. How do we get people to stop speculating? How do we make sure that people don't spend more money than they need to? So they're talking about capital gains increases and principal residence tax exemptions being removed, and all these different measures that would cool the market. So of course, none of those happened at the budget last Monday, which
The
was
budget.
expected.
Boo. Budget.
I guess we should
or
talk about what happened at the budget. We'll
good
get to that
budget?
after.
Yeah, budget. Forgot about the budget. How did I forget about the
So
budget?
what the bank people, the big bank people, right? The Bay Street guys were saying is Bank of Canada should have really just come out and say, instead of rates staying super low until 2023, we may be making them a little bit, adjusting them higher a little bit earlier. So it's going to take away the confidence that people have, because everyone's boring right now saying, hey, Bank of Canada is not going to raise the rates for a couple of years. I can pay off some of this mortgage at 2% for the next 5 years. And by the time the rates do go up, I'll be in a much better situation, which has less risk. So Bank of Canada came out and said, because of the economic recovery, because of what we're seeing, they're still kind of like, hesitant to really commit to anything, but they've indicated that closer to the end of 2022 now is when they would be considering raising interest rates. So they've kind of stepped it back a little bit from their projections of nothing until 2023. Oh no, we got to keep it at least to the end of 2022, 2023. Then we'll talk about rate increases. Now they've stepped it back a little bit, which again, they can always make another announcement that says, guys, sorry, we need to start cooling the housing market, or we need to start fighting inflation, which was at 2.2% year over year. So let's talk about
2.2%.
that.
Let's talk about that. So
The
let's
target.
let's just say I'm gonna do some math here quickly.
All right.
Let's take $250, which I think is a more than reasonable amount of money to spend at the grocery store.
Okay.
If you take a $250 budget and you add 2% to it, you are
Yep.
adding $5.
Yes.
$5. So what you were used to paying $250 for is now, TK?
$255.
$255. Yes.
Okay.
I haven't noticed a $5 increase in my grocery bills. I have noticed a ridiculous, I don't even know how high, because every time my wife comes back from the store laughing about how much money she just spent and how empty the goddamn fridge is, I get a little nervous about this inflation number that they're throwing around, because everything that I buy is more expensive now. Everything. Even the ink in my printer is more expensive now. So what the
do you think that there's a conspiracy going on with the government that they are intentionally keeping the inflation rate lower than it actually is to maintain the interest rates at a lower rate
I don't think
in
that there's a
order to fuel
conspiracy.
some sort of
No.
agenda that the government has?
No, I think that
Because I hear the
no,
guys
I think
that
that
you
there
listen
is
to on
a
YouTube sometimes talk about this.
no, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. There's a vested interest to continually have money out there that is earning interest. And as the interest rate goes down, there's a vested interest for some that the amount of money out there increases to offset the losses by the lower interest rate, right? Because there's somebody that's making all that money, right? Or there's a bunch of people making all that money. So if the vested interest is to continually have more money in the system, which is in everybody's best interest, that's just how the system works. They have to come up with ways to continually pump money into the market. And so right now what we have is the only way that this thing works currently is if the government, the country says, okay, we need more money, and the Bank of Canada says, okay, we'll give you more money. And that's basically exactly what's happening. Canada issues a debt bond, the Bank of Canada buys it, gives them the money, and that's the way that it's working right now. So
which they are going to be buying less now.
They're going to be buying less, and that's one of the things. So what they're doing is they're throttling the economy, right, for whatever reason. But Canada needs that interest rate, and the Bank of Canada needs that interest rate low so that Canada can actually pay its debt service when it comes due. So we have to be able to pay that interest or the whole thing falls apart, right? So the Bank of Canada
100%.
needs it to be low so that it's manageable, and Canada needs to buy more money because that's all they're doing is buying money from the Bank of Canada. They need more money to keep the wheels moving. So in order for them to service the debt, and borrow more money, that interest has to stay low. So what has to happen? The Bank of Canada has to use other tools. So just like what you're saying. Started off during the pandemic, they're buying $5 billion per week of government debt, right?
Yes.
Keeps the interest rates low because somebody's buying this debt. That's what has to happen. Otherwise, you have to offer more interest to people to take on the debt. And nobody wants the debt other than the Bank of Canada right now. Right? So it has to stay low. They have to keep pumping money in, which means asset prices have to go up. And like this just has to happen. So no, it's not a conspiracy. It's actually just understanding the current system the way that it is. And it just has to keep perpetually growing. So it's in their best interest to look at certain numbers, which most people don't understand and most people don't give a shit about, right? To say that, okay, look, we're pointing to this and everything is fine. The system is okay. Everything is hunky-dory. We got to throttle back a little bit on this and we're going to push a little harder on that. And it's just manipulation of economy. And that's why I started the show saying, are we socialists now? Because there is manipulation all over the place. And there is effects from this all over the place that are not normal capitalistic functions of a society, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like we always say, it's like, sorry, was that a signal to shut up and let you have a turn?
No. Keep going. I want to hear the whole point, so go ahead.
Well, why? So you can refute it now, God damn it. I'm getting tired here.
So what you're saying, I'm not saying it's not true, but what you're saying is that they are artificially reporting the inflation rate.
No, I'm saying there's different inflation rates that they look at, and there's different baskets that they choose to look at depending on what prices go where. But also, like we've said it before, we're focused on real estate because we're in real estate, but it's a tiny segment of the actual population trading real estate regularly, right? So this whole market only affects certain people. But the reality of this whole thing is if this housing market doesn't keep going, there's not much else here. And it needs to. Like if you look at the map of the world and you see, how big Ontario is? Like, I don't know how we have a housing crisis. This is pretty crazy. Like there's so much land on this province or continent. It's crazy. But I mean, here we are. This is the game and this is how they want to play it, or we want to play it. Somebody voted at some point for somebody, right? But this is the system. It has to go up. What happens when it goes down? What happens when it goes down? Not only the people on the streets are getting killed, like everybody is taking a hit.
Everybody takes a hit.
From top to bottom, everybody takes a hit. So who wants to take a hit when all you got to do is like throttle the economy whichever way it needs to go to keep it in this believed comfort zone?
Which is what they're doing. We know the direction we're going in. Rates are at an all-time low. We know that the rates are going to be going back up. We know that the government is not going to let inflation get out of control. We know that they've got a lot more cooling measures other than, interest rates, but that's obviously a major tool that everyone focuses on, right? But they are. And right now with Bank of Canada buying those bonds, they will pull right back, the second that they start seeing inflation get out of control. And I believe in, I guess I'm naive, I'm gullible, I'm whatever. But I believe in that the people who are at Bank of Canada are a lot smarter than the guys I'm hearing on YouTube, right? And that they are doing the best thing for the country to ensure that we come out of this.
Yeah, but you want to believe that. You want to believe that because that would make sense. But look at what happened with GameStop. And look at what's happening with Bitcoin. And look at what's happening with all kinds of things right now that have nothing to do with these bankers. The banking system is a mess. And they've got so much power and they've got so much... They're so ingrained in everything that like it's gonna be crazy right now. Like, do you know what's going on in the world with currency right now? Like, have you seen what's going on?
100%.
It is insane.
Yeah, Portugal's getting out of hand, and there's lots of different issues.
No, but China is making their own digital currency, right?
Of course. According to YouTube, China made Bitcoin. So
some guy.
So maybe they've already got their own digital currency.
But all these digital currencies, people are making a lot of money right now, and things are just changing. Like technology is changing things so quickly and so drastically right now that like, I mean, who would have thought that you'd be talking about the entire taxi industry disappearing 10 years ago, right? Like whoever would have thought that you'd rent your cottage to somebody for $1,200 a night through an app because it's on the water.
I agree with you that innovation is obviously, at an all-time high and things are changing quickly. And yeah, there's a spot for digital currency, but I'm fundamentals all the way. Like the issues that they're having right now. So let me go on a little bit of a talk here, Darryl. Thanks. So the issues that we have right now, so two of the issues is like Norway and Sweden, right? So they've got like 3 or 4% of cash 3% per 3 to 4% of their transactions are cash, which means that everybody's paying digitally, right? So that they're trying to avoid that because there's certain fundamentals that have to be put into place. Turkey has, outlawed the use of some digital currencies and stuff like that to make sure that they protect their own currency. Portugal's, facing mass inflation, so people again are trying to look at digital currencies. The government will regulate this. This is why these systems have been in place for hundreds of years. This isn't the first time that bubbles have happened and markets have come through and innovation has started to, creep in. There's been oil bubbles, there's been, tech bubbles with, all different types of stock bubbles. This is all part of the government's job. And like I said, there's people who are much smarter than the journalists and the YouTubers and all these people who come up with all these great ideas that make sense. I remember when they watched the 9/11 when they, the building, and I watched a documentary to prove that that was fake. I remember when I've watched the JFK like I know that it's easy to influence society because everybody is wanting to believe that there's something more to what they're seeing. They want to believe that there's corruption. They want to believe that there's some sinister people pulling the strings, wanting them to do the things that they want to do. I get that. That's a natural human inclination to believe that something bigger is going on that is not being known to you. But I'm letting you know that there's a ton of people at work who again are trained and have the experience to be able to figure these type of things out. And I think Canada has one of the most stable financial institutions out there, to be honest, in the world. And what they're doing is not based off of maybe some influence from other countries because they're learning lessons and stuff like that, but it's based off of the fundamentals that they have over the last 100 plus years, ensuring that our economy can remain on track, learning the lessons we did from mass inflation from the 70s and 80s, learning the lessons that other countries have recently, Venezuela, and that kind of stuff with their currency, and that we're not going to be going down a digital currency exchange anytime soon, and that governments will intervene because they have reasons to do so, and it's in order to protect us because the mass population can't be in control of those type of things because we'll screw it up. Example, GameStop and whatever other example you gave there, Bitcoin, right? If you let the people decide, they screw it up. That's why we have governments. That's why we have people in place because we need to have order and people making those decisions who we've elected because they know more than us. And again, call me naive, call me gullible, but I'm trusting in those systems in order to keep everything on track because it's proven, right? And it's easy to spin an idea as to why they're going to lose control and why they're going to, not make it out and why they're going to screw it all up. And they sometimes do. They make mistakes, but it's always corrected because they're able to figure out what mistake they made because again, those are the people who are in power to do so. And inflation right now is starting to go up, but honestly, it was compared to March 2020 when deflation was like, I don't even remember what the number was, but everything dropped. Prices dropped because we were in panic. So yeah, 2.2% annual rise in inflation compared to March 2020 makes sense. I was paying like 60 cents a liter for gas at that point, right? I'm surprised it's not 10% inflation year over year in March 2021, right? So I don't see the inflation that everyone's talking about in everyday sectors. There's reasons behind stuff. I agree 100% that prices are going up, but just because you're paying
There's
more at the grocery store, how many meals are you eating out
no,
a
but so
week?
this is okay. So this is interesting. So there's a
Yeah.
couple of different things going on simultaneously. So we have deflationary things like automation and AI and all this technology that brings pricing down, right?
Okay.
While we have rampant inflation from adding currencies all around the world. I mean, you can't argue with the fact that if you add
There's more money
40% of a
printed in the
currency.
last year than any other year
Right.
before.
So, but what happens is because you buy goods from Asia, India, like other countries where things come here cheaper somehow because of labor or
Okay.
whatever.
That's nothing new in the last year.
Nothing new. No, no, no. But that's
Okay.
been going on for a long time. Is like things have been getting cheaper that we would use not every day, but like regularly, like important items. But what's happening now is the things that we need, like food and housing, like things
Mhm.
that we need regularly, always necessities are going up like crazy right now, right? But those other
Okay.
things, like the crap you buy on Amazon that you don't really need that you want, like all those kind of things, those are getting cheaper. right? The table or the bed or the mattress, like those big the cars, like these things are all actually getting cheaper, right? And better and more efficient, right? Computers, like all these phones, all these things. So we've got like deflationary things going on and inflationary things going on simultaneously. And that's what's kind of keeping the thing kind of where it needs to be. So those numbers like CPI and blah, 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 and all that, it doesn't matter, right? Like this is just the way that it works right now. And I actually, when I was thinking about the show earlier, I wanted to start off asking like, tell me why this can't keep going on for 10 years. Like we need all
Because
this
nothing
housing.
ever does. And so those big items that you just named, those are specific markets that happen to be massively inflated. Real estate is massively inflated right now. There's no just. I'm talking about
Food.
currency inflation. Is it out of control, or is it maybe just a little bit higher than what we all want to see it?
It's simultaneous. Right? And we've talked about this before. And I think the key right now why the whole world isn't like just disintegrating financially, like when Zimbabwe super inflated their currency, they did it by themselves. Right? They were on their own thing a few years ago. Nothing else was going on. They super inflated their way to death. This has happened many times where like the superpower has inflated their currency to death and they've disappeared off the face of the earth, right? But what's happening now is everybody has inflated their currency simultaneously, like everybody. So for inflation to run away in relation to all the other countries spending money on all the same stuff.
Because the U.S. dollar is the standard right now. That's everything is based off of U.S. dollars, and
that's another
I watched
thing
the Robert
that I wanted
Kiyosaki
to talk about.
podcast too, and if you don't take it off the gold standard, if they hadn't taken it off the gold standard, then inflation would have been kept under control. And I understand that, and I get that. And China right now is buying all this gold because they want to be able to have a digital backed currency based off the gold standard. I get that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, that's what they're buying it for. I get all that. I'm just letting you know that as far as the everyday cost of what my Canadian dollar is going to be buying, the everyday cost of the goods that I'm purchasing, the housing that yes is inflated right now, but every market is cyclical. Like whether I'm willing to admit that I think that the market's going to change really soon or not, I don't know because I'm confused because no one has those answers. But I can tell you right now that every market's cyclical and the stock market's no different, and that everything that goes up must come down, and it always returns to the mean average on the long-term graphs. So right now we're in a spike, but that's definitely not something that's going to be sustainable. I don't believe that gas prices are going to go out of hand, and I believe that the oil market's going to keep in check to be able to ensure that. I don't believe that the food and the lumber and all these other manufacturing type of local supply chains are going to be affected for very much longer, and those prices will return. And then everyone will say, okay, good, we dodged a bullet. It was because we did this, that, and the other.
So what happens in the event that the government does kind of release some restrictions and starts approving permits quicker? And now, so now let's say lumber does catch up and building materials and labor does catch up now, and all of a sudden they allow more stuff to get built. We end up in the same thing again. We end up with shortages all over the place again. We already have 200 cranes.
We won't have enough wood and labor to build all that stuff.
I think what is actually going to happen is all these prices are just going to get absorbed into everyday life, and we're going to keep moving on. And we're going to get used to paying $50 more at the grocery store every week, and we're going to get used to paying, 40 cents more for gas, and we're going to get used to paying all the prices that we're at now. And builders are going to just build it in, and the end user, the price is going to, climb the ladder, and that'll be it, I guess, until it's not. But I mean,
well, it would be the first time in history that it ever stayed the same in a developed country like Canada.
Well, I'm guessing that it's
every other time that's happened, it had been a bubble.
Have we seen in history economies thrive during pandemics where people can't even produce like efficiently anymore? Is that a new thing? Because I'm pretty sure things.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't researched all the pandemics that have ever been in existence, but
I thought you were an expert here.
I know for sure that there are plenty examples of bubbles and that there's
Poppy
plenty
bubbles.
examples of markets that get inflated. There was one that I read about where the cost of a tulip in Amsterdam,
Tulips. Yes, tulips. The
right,
tulip bubble.
had reached, like the cost of
Epic,
real estate
epic proportions of
in
tulips.
Amsterdam because people needed tulips so bad. Did that last forever? Or was everyone just like, well, I guess we're just gonna have to pay more for tulips from now on, and it'll just go up from? No, like it's silly. Like it's,
That's a good point.
Kuwait had a stock market bubble in
That's a good point.
1982 where they were allowed to write post-dated checks to buy stocks. So they went
What's
from a
wrong with
5 billion
that?
to a
I don't see
they,
anything
they
wrong
went
with
from a
that.
$5 billion stock market to the third biggest stock market in the world that was $100 billion. So it's like, like there's different things that happen, different factors that influence these markets. Right now, I don't think it's just the inflation rates that's rising. Let's sum this all up because our show's over now, Dale. So let's sum it all up here. I don't think it's the rise of currency. I don't think it's the low interest rates. I don't think it's any of those things that's making people pay more money for real estate right now. During the pandemic, everybody's at home. They're all afraid. They want more space. They value their time with their family. They can't see their grandparents. Everyone has a reason to move right now. So they're out there buying real estate, which then creates price increases, which brings all the speculators in because there's a bunch of speculators right now borrowing from their principal residence to buy more real estate, taking out loans, getting off their horse, deciding to buy because they thought the market wasn't good. That's what happens. Market goes up, people start to buy, the market starts to go down, everyone says, "Oh, it's not a good time to buy." It's complete herd mentality. That's what's creating the increase in housing prices. The pandemic will get solved. I don't know how, but it will get solved. And the need for larger spaces and, real estate that people are buying right now will go down,
It
and
will
everyone
because
will
everybody.
say it's not really a good time to move because now the interest rates are higher a little bit, and now this is not a good time because I don't need to move because I'm happy with my 3 bedrooms and the kids are out most of the time, and it's not really something that I need to do or go through all that stress because buying and selling is stressful.
It's the
That's it.
great reshuffling shakedown. All the locals are reshuffling to make room for all the immigrants that are going to start pouring in. And if you think prices are coming down, I think you are incorrect.
I don't know. But in 2018, we had 360,000 people come to Canada, and I remember prices going down in Toronto that year. So
All right, fine.
good.
Was good.
This has been a great show today, Daryl. I really
think so.
appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. We got a
Hey?
lot of footage here today.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
about that
that's
first part. I may have to edit that stuff out.
yeah, some of the first part, but that's